Afternoon. I'd like to call to order this agenda review for the 5th day of November 2025. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dollison.
Here.
Commissioner Mercer.
Here.
Commissioner Gensler.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yates.
Here.
And Mayor Birdsong.
Here. We will have an invocation, then a pledge of allegiance, then we have some presentations. 5B, we'll do that at the end. And then we have the minutes, comments from the audience. We have no second readings. Then we have a lengthy consent agenda. We just ought to review those for us, City Manager.
Happy to, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. First item you have this evening is item 10A. This is a change order and third amendment to our existing interlocal agreement with Polk County. So as you know, back in 2023, the commission awarded an RFQ for Chain Lakes Park Phase 2 construction manager at risk to Rada Construction. On November 12th of 2024, the commission approved the guaranteed maximum price amendment for that project. Looking back to 2019, that's when the field house opened, and the amount of parking facilities on site continue to pose frequent challenges to fully program all of the amenities. And despite us adding additional parking with the new baseball fields, which are part of Chain of Lakes Park, the second phase that we're working on, we know that we'll still have some parking challenges ahead. So we had originally intended to develop the southwest corner of this overall site with additional parking facilities. Our staff has worked with Rada and Polk County on a change order and an amendment to the existing interlocal agreement, which would allow us to accomplish the additional parking improvements displayed on your screen. This would add approximately 358 additional spaces, of which 233 will be paved and 125 will be stabilized grass. So if you've been out to the site for anything recently at the field house, you see all the additional parking that we did with the baseball fields that exists now between the field house and the baseball fields. This is going to be more along US 17 to the south of the master lift station and west of the new field 4. So the change order also includes sodding the great lawn area, creating additional green space on the site, adding a fountain to the retention pond, which will be a nice amenity for people that are utilizing the trail down there, as well as additional site amenities, including landscaping and trees. That change order is $1.2 million. The third amendment to the interlocal agreement allows for Polk County to provide $600,000 of that cost to us. And the city will be required to pay the additional $600,209. We have included this within the fiscal year 26 budget. This was something we had discussed during the budget proposals. And so we are recommending that the commission approve that third amendment to the interlocal agreement with the county and authorize yourself and the other city officials to execute, and then also to approve the change order with Rada. It's my understanding that a lot of this work, some of the site work has already been addressed, the infrastructural needs, and the goal is to have this, for the most part, completed prior to the commencement of the 2026 Russ Mat Invitational, which will occur usually early March into April. We are still planning to do a dedication for the baseball fields and the new concession building. Andy, I'm going to look to you. I think it's December 5th. Is that correct? December 3rd. I think it's on a Wednesday before leading into our agenda review that night. So this is able to get done another big chunk of improvements there under the existing agreements. Any questions with that?
Any questions?
If you do happen to go by the field house at any point in the next few days, there's a mural that is going on the front face of the new concession building down there. That is kind of like a welcome to Winter Haven mural. Very impressive. It's in the paint. It's being painted as we speak. So pretty impressive display down there. They started several days ago, but it's coming out quick.
I must not be able to see. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it is impressive. Next item for your consideration Monday evening will be a lease agreement with the Florence Villa Community Development Corporation. So since 1997, the CDC has had a lease with the city for property located at 115 Avenue R Northeast. This is also commonly known as the old Jewett Elementary School property. Since that time, we've had 2 extensions. The most recent one actually expired in February of 2024. Although it's not in play because it has expired, we have continued to operate that engagement under the conditions of that agreement. This proposed lease that we're bringing before you entitles the CDC to continue to utilize the site for the provision of certain services. The term of the lease will commence on or about November 11th, the day after your next meeting, and continue through November 10th of 2026. It will then automatically renew in successive 1-year periods, provided the CDC remains in compliance with all terms and conditions. And then either the city or the CDC may elect to not renew that agreement by providing the other party 60 days notice prior to the expiration. The CDC is responsible for all the utilities associated with their use and certain maintenance responsibilities, and then they pay an annual fee of $1 for that use. So we're recommending that the commission approve that lease agreement for the continued use by the Florence Villa CDC. Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that because you're associated with the CDC, you won't be allowed to vote on that item. And therefore, when the consent agenda is considered, that item will, if the consent is approved in its entirety, that item will need to be pulled in order for you not to have a conflict of interest there.
So why don't you just take it out of the consent agenda and
Put it under new business?
yeah.
Certainly do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
T, quick question on that. In regards to the maintenance, you said they're required to do some, I'm not sure what you said, particular maintenance or what. How does the maintenance work on that? On who? I know they would pay for their own utilities and stuff, but what about repairs and stuff?
So it's under Section 5 of the agreement on the first page. CDC is required to keep it in good condition, in good state of repair at all times. All leased grounds and structures, including the interior and exterior maintenance. Typically, what happens within this, the interior maintenance means, again, walls and ceilings, painting repairs, plumbing, doors, windows, glass, those types of items. The exterior maintenance is the grounds, the doors, again, painting, maintenance of the property. The city is responsible for the structural elements. So the roof, the interior support structures, those types of things. And that is consistent with what we also do with the PEP education building, as well as there's a small building adjacent to the Armory that is occupied by the Chain of Lakes Achievers program. Standard language we use, that the Neighborhood Service Center, same thing. You're responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance of the facility. If we have, significant hurricane damage or a roof failure, those types of things, those fall back to the city as major structural repairs.
I didn't realize we own the Cola building. We do?
And the Armory.
Oh, we own the Armory too? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. That's kind of a new thing, right? Did we just get that?
The Armory we've had, I think, I researched that many years ago, and it goes back a very long, long time that that was a city facility, and we entered into an agreement with the Florida Armed National Guard for their occupancy. And I don't know what the city would have ever used it for prior. I have to go back and look at my notes on that.
It was a voting location. That's where I first voted in my life. That was my first vote.
So
In other words, back to the maintenance, we are responsible for anything major, like the roof falls in,
right.
and then they manage all the inside stuff. Okay.
Yes, sir. Next item is with, 10C. This is a scope of services with Black & Veatch for a comprehensive vulnerability assessment and adaptation plan. In July of this year, the commission authorized the execution of a grant agreement with DEP's Office of Resilience and Coastal Protection that supports community planning efforts to address risks to critical infrastructure and assets associated with flooding, sea level rise, increased precipitation that's linked to global climate change. The city was awarded a $360,000 grant to complete a vulnerability assessment and adaptation plan. This initiative updates hydrologic and hydraulic modeling to evaluate localized flood risks and eliminate climate-related exposures, identify priority risk areas across the community, and provide a framework for strengthening local resilience. The plan also positions the city to be more competitive in securing future grants and funding opportunities for risk mitigation projects. So we had requested Black & Veatch to provide a scope, which they have done, to assist the city in completing this assessment and adaptation plan in compliance with the DEP requirements. Black & Veatch will develop that report, identifying areas potentially impacted by climate change, including vulnerabilities to a 100-year and 500-year flood event, which I hope we never see, to evaluate potential effects of sea level rise on Winter Haven's lakes and watershed systems, to present those findings in a public meeting, and to provide targeted action plan with recommended strategies for addressing those risks. They will begin work this November, and it's anticipated that this will be completed in March of 27. It is funded entirely through the DEP grant at $360,000. There is no required local match. Okay. Next item pertains to Lake Idle. So this is just south of MLK Boulevard, near the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center. This is a 20-acre public water body that's been designated as impaired for nutrients. The city submitted an alternate restoration plan, also known as a 4E plan, which outlines projects designed to address one or more pollutant sources impacting Lake Idle. That plan was reviewed, accepted, and approved by DEP in 2024. One of the projects that's included in the 4E plan focuses on stormwater infrastructure improvements in that lake's primary drainage basin. The first phase, phase 1A, involves the installation of exfiltration pipe and drainage structures along a portion of 9th Street Northeast, 9th Court Northeast, and Avenue V as in Victor Northeast. So those are going to be to the north of the of MLK Boulevard, but they flow into Lake Idle. In June of 24, the commission authorized staff to submit an application to DEP non-point source management grant program in an effort to help fund the construction of the project. June of this year, we were notified that we had been awarded $348,000 by DEP through that program, and it requires that construction be completed by December 31st of 2027, so approximately 2 years from now. We did engage Carter K to provide a scope of work for this project. The total project is now estimated to cost approximately $870,000. So $348,000 will come from DEP, and then the balance will be appropriated within the stormwater fund to cover both the construction costs and serve as our local match. And I think, do we have a map that shows this one, AJ? Yeah. So the major road to the south there, it's listed as Avenue T because it's an older map, but this is MLK Boulevard, and you can see where those stormwater improvements would be made. In the lower left corner, you can kind of see where the old Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center is to give you a point of reference.
What's it going to look like when we're finished? What will the final project look like?
So really, it'll just look like storm drains in the ground. You really won't see anything at all.
Nothing will really change the landscape.
It's all underground. It's an all
Okay.
underground system. Not totally dissimilar from, we've moved the stormwater pond on the east side of the parking garage underground when we added the dumpster enclosure there.
Yeah, okay.
And so all you see on the road is just two stormwater inlets. Everything else is underground. So it'd be a little bit different system than that, but visually it'd be very similar.
Okay.
MJ, I'm just wondering, will that should tremendously affect the quality of the water because that water body is really in just bad shape with growth and just,
So the idea here is that it would limit a significant amount of water that currently flows all right, the drop off down the hill on 9th Street there and 9th
Yeah.
Court. All that water that flows downhill would now get percolated back into the ground. So it would prevent a lot of the nutrients that make it to the lake from getting there.
yeah, but there are no efforts to actually improve the lake itself.
So-
I know
So as part
getting
of
the water before it goes in there, that helps.
yeah,
But
as part of that 4E that we filed with FDEP, there's multiple phases that we need to work on. There's a lot of projects within that. This is just one of them.
okay,
Yeah. So there's stuff that would happen in lake that we are looking at also.
okay.
Yeah. That's not a part of this particular effort, but.
I'm just wondering, I've had several citizens to approach me about the condition and the water quality of that lake. So,
The commission approved that northeast corner to be developed. Is there any update on that specific project? Because that and once that's developed, will they have requirements and things for their drainage so that?
Yep. Yes, sir. I've actually met with that developer twice in the last month, and they are submitting construction plans to the city for review for that project as we speak. So that apparently is moving forward. And yes, they will have to provide on-site stormwater retention and through a swift mud permit.
Would they be putting a dock there potentially for residents or is that, would they be allowed to do that?
I don't know for sure yet. They haven't submitted their construction documents to my knowledge. But I can check with engineering and see if those documents have been submitted and if it includes a dock. I'm not sure at this point.
Because there's no public access to
Yes,
this.
there is. There's
There
a
is
boat
public
ramp.
access?
yes, on the
That ramp's hidden.
west
then.
side. On the west side, there's a boat ramp.
At the very end of Sears Avenue.
That was done probably within the past, I'd say, 10 years. It was a joint project. We worked with the Lake Region Lakes Management District. There was an existing one there. Is it the Masonic Lodge, I think that's right there as well, or a Legion building that's
Legion.
there.
American Legion.
So the three of us worked together to make improvements to that. And keep in mind, Commissioner Yates, that property on 11th Street, historically that's Grove property, and to the north, north of where these improvements are shown, you had a lot of Grove activity up there, nutrients and the like that come off of those properties certainly have an impact, a legacy impact on that lake. The new development will be required to meet current stormwater mitigation, policies and guidelines that wouldn't have been in play historically.
Well, knowing that, why wouldn't we hold off since they're going to take care of the problem for us, right?
Well, this is on the north end, so that what we're dealing with on 11th Street, they're going to have to do improvements to that before they can, as part of their development, which will help even further with, capturing.
Well, based on what MJ just said, we're trying to stop that water from going into the lake. They're going to stop that when they develop it.
That's on the east side of the lake. What we're dealing with here is on the north side.
Okay. I get confused with east. and west.
Yeah.
Different water there.
Okay.
Next item is item 11A. This is a resolution for the commission to consider. Breeze SPE LLC has constructed the 102 multifamily project known as Breeze Apartments in just south of City Hall here along Avenue, along 3rd Street. As part of that project, certain sanitary infrastructure improvements related to sewer lines was required. To allow for operation and maintenance of this infrastructure on private property, a utility easement is required. The new utility easement will be replacing existing public utility easements that were on the property. In 2024, the developer submitted the executed new easement document to the city for review and acceptance. That easement was reviewed by the city's Engineering Services Division and found to be adequate for acceptance by the City Commission. In addition, Breeze SPE LLC has asked that the city vacate and terminate and abandon the city reserved perpetual easements. So what you see on your screen highlighted in the blue are the easements to be accepted, and what is shown in black underneath that is what will be vacated. If you've been on that property, what is to be accepted is outside of where the actual building footprint is. So it sits within generally the parking areas and their access road going out to the north.
Any questions? All right, and we have some ordinances. First reading, 12A.
12A, this is a property that the City Commission annexed in July of this year. This is Candace Ducking and Lassonde Etienne are requesting the city assign a neighborhood support future land use in a commercial highway C3 zoning district. The property developer intends to develop it as a 3,600 square foot adult daycare center. This does not require review by the Florida Department of Commerce or other state agencies given its size. It is surrounded by multifamily residential to the north, Lakeside Memorial Cemetery to the east, a vacant parcel that's in unincorporated Polk County and a motel to the south, and then single family located to the west, which is also in unincorporated Polk County. There's a table in your chart in your packet. It shows the potential demands on our supporting infrastructure. And even with these and everything else that's been placed in the queue for development, there's still remaining capacity in all of those, and we don't fall to any level of service that would be considered failing. Prior to annexation, this was under Polk County. The future land use was residential low. The requested neighborhood support future land use is consistent with the property's location along this arterial highway corridor, and the requested C3 zoning district is consistent with the neighborhood support future land use designation. No direct financial impacts with this. It is exempt from a business impact statement since it was initiated by a private party who is the owner of the property. Planning Commission heard this on October 7th. There was one member of the public who spoke with concerns about access and traffic. Our staff's review of this revealed that the assignment of the land uses requested and zoning is consistent with the property's location and with developed uses and city designations in the area, and there is sufficient public infrastructure capacity to accommodate the proposed development. So this is two items. You'll have the ordinance 2530, which is specific to the land use, and then a companion ordinance 2531, which speaks to zoning.
Any questions?
Will the entrance and exit be off of 8th Street or Avenue X?
That was the exact question that the citizen at the Planning Commission had regarding access. It is an FDOT controlled roadway, and so they will likely make application to get access from, since it's a non-residential, from 8th Street or US 17. Don't know if they'll get a permit from FDOT to do that. My experience says they will likely make them connect on Avenue X.
And we don't have a site plan or anything at this point. It's simply just trying to get the land use and zoning so that they can then proceed with the next steps in their development process.
Another question? What was that?
Moving ahead to 12C, this is one that comes from us as staff. So the city is requesting commission assign institutional future land use and public institutional zoning to a parcel that was annexed on July 28th, 2025, adjacent to the city's wastewater treatment plant 3. This property was purchased for future use by the city's water department. We refer to this often as the Bennett property. So to the right of that square, you'll see wastewater treatment plant 3 and Pollard Road. Again, this is a small scale land use amendment, so it doesn't require review at the state level. It is surrounded by preservation lands to the north, the city's wastewater treatment plant 3 to the east, vacant land zone for residential to the south and to the west. There are no current plans to develop the property, so there's no additional demands on public infrastructure expected at this time.
So I'm just wondering long-term, what's the,
I'll defer to Mr. Bombard, our Assistant Director for the Winter Haven Water Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Currently, we don't really have a plan for the future development of it. The parcel just to the east of that is the proposed Pollard Road water treatment plant. That parcel may need to be expanded a little bit, so we may use a portion of the, I believe it's 14 acres of the Bennett property, maybe an acre or two of it, to house our wells and storage tanks. But the main parcel, we don't have any plans for yet. There is a residential house and pole barn on there that's we're keeping up and running, but it is currently unoccupied also.
And one of the primary reasons for acquiring this property was 4th Street coming from, I guess that would be Snively Avenue, Rifle Range Road on the west, all the way back to Pollard Road, ends at the western edge of this property. So in order to create an additional access point into wastewater treatment plant 3, this gave us the additional roadway that we would need to do that. It also, yeah, and John just reminded me, it also includes, it will allow us to provide certain easements to the PRWC for their water system. So this also went to the Planning Commission on October 7th. There was no members of the public that spoke. This is coming from internal, so it's a staff initiated. And just out of an abundance of caution, we've included in your packet a business impact estimate, which, you know, by law, when the city enacts things, even though this is a little different, we just wanted to be, you know, belt and suspenders approach to make sure we had done that, and so it is included. So at this time, you know, staff's conclusions are that the assignment of the land use in the zoning district is consistent with the property's ownership and location adjacent to Plant 3. There's no plans to develop the property, so there's no additional demands on public infrastructure that would be impactful. And so we're recommending ordinance 2532, which addresses land use, and 2533, which addresses zoning.
you had a question?
Yes, I do. T, where's the property for the doctor's place that we bought a long time ago? Do you remember?
It's going to be north. I don't have a mouse with me, but if you see where it says Pollard Road going up to the north, I
Yeah.
think it's that lot right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, Mark, I believe that house no longer exists. Is that correct? The old home that was out there?
Yeah, that is correct. There's, I think there's 3 10-acre parcels that are lopped out of there. And there is a residence on one of them, but the other 2, I think, are vacant. One of them had a residence that's now been removed.
That's some old school memory right there, that we had acquired that home many, many, many years ago and
Well, I
used
got
it
on
for a
commission.
variety of things.
That's before I got on the commission, because I don't remember that at all.
This would have been probably back in the maybe 80s, early 90s. And we used it for a variety of purposes over time. And then it had a lot of vandalism that occurred on it. We eventually had it torn down.
Is the majority of that lot low and wet, or is it just kind of that central location where the small pond or lake is there?
Mainly around where that pond is, and you can see just a little bit of shading that goes out from that. It's going to be wet in that area, but like as Mr. Bombard said, there is a residential property and some pole barns that are located on that property on the farther western side. So
So I'm just going to tee this up for a future thought. It's not going to go anywhere tonight.
I like your use of the word T.
You like that? One day you'll circle back to it and say, oh, I remember Commissioner Yates suggested that. It's a great idea. This would make one heck of a little tiny home community.
Yeah.
As we toured in Tallahassee, and you could make them affordable, and just
Great idea.
just a thought, just to, you know.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I think that certainly is is a good idea. I think as we get through the Pollard Road project and see what our needs become of any additional acreage within that may pertain to Plant 3 or the water plant, then that's certainly something that can be explored at that time.
Just thought.
The one in Tallahassee, was that developed by a particular developer or?
Yes, it's called The Dwellings. It's on the western side of Tallahassee off of Capitol Circle West. It's a private developer that put,
He's well heeled.
I want to say 100 plus tiny home units in there with some shared spaces for like a commissary type facility and classrooms and
Garden, had a,
Yeah.
community garden and a activities room and a kitchen and all kinds of neat stuff.
that may be worthy of another site visit during the next trip to Tallahassee to see how that project has expanded and sustained since the last
To have
time.
a developer do that, you're gonna have to help them, but it's gonna take somebody that's
Maybe
got
the
a heart
land.
and a passion
Yeah,
for that.
The biggest part is always having the land, right? So here you go. That's the number one problem. So I don't know. It just seems like that. I just using my vision, just like God, that could be a really cool little project and hugely impactful to families and families with children, and yeah, so just something to put on the burner for later.
Yes, sir. Next set of ordinances, we'll begin with 12E, and this again is a city request coming from staff. So we're requesting the city amend the 2035 land use on a portion of city-owned parcel that is part of the Bradco Farms. This is presently neighborhood suburban and neighborhood support future land use, and we're recommending that it be changed to institutional future land use and also rezone it from single-family residential small and conservation to public institution. So this is along the east side of Buckeye Loop Road. This is the upland portion of the Bradco Farm property that we had acquired a few years back now. Actually 2023. We purchased 370 acres, of which this is a portion. The intent of that purchase is to create surface water storage and recharge areas, and also as a new location for the city's water department, administrative offices, and work areas. The water department is proposing to develop 36,750 square foot admin building, approximately 25,000 square foot warehouse, and the associated parking areas on a 10.25 acre campus. Again, small scale, doesn't require review by any Florida state agencies. The uses surrounding this include woodlands and ag lands and buildings to the north, woodlands and pasture land to the east and south, and woodlands and a single-family residential to the west across Buckeye Loop, as you can see depicted on the map. We do provide a table within your fact sheet that shows the impacts of what's being proposed, as well as what the remaining capacity would be within water and wastewater, as well as the impacts on the roadway network. Subject areas designated as neighborhood suburban and neighborhood support by the 2035 future land use. The requested institutional future land use is consistent with the subject area's proposed use as the city's water department office and warehouse facilities. And the requested PI zoning is consistent with the requested institutional future land use and proposed use of that property. No direct financial impact with this request. Again, we went ahead and did a business impact estimate since this is being generated internally. Planning Commission heard this on October 7th and voted to recommend approval. No members of the public spoke. So staff's recommending the commission approve the ordinance 2534 pertaining to land use and 2535 pertaining to zoning.
Mr. Mayor, quick
Yes.
question. Did we get 10 acres of highland, uplands? I didn't run, I thought we only got like 5 acres of, is it actually 10 acres of all uplands? Is that, this is a 10 acre parcel. It's all uplands?
Yeah, this is a 10-acre parcel. It is primarily wetlands. You can see on the eastern edge there, it kind of runs along a drainage canal. There may be a portion of wetlands that are maybe designated along that boundary line. So the actual uplands might be more like 9 or so, but because there may be, after we get it surveyed, there may be a small section of wetlands associated inside that blue
Are we
parcel.
surprised that it's that much? Because I thought we're getting.
I think
like
we
5
looked
acres.
at it as being about 10 acres when we bought the
Yeah.
370.
Can you
There is
put-
also a parcel to the south of the big Bradco portion that we are reserving for a future parking area for trail access. That area is also uplands, and that's about a 5-acre parcel.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Can you put pole barns by any chance in that wetland area where you can park tractors or stuff or whatever back in there, or is that not even if possible?
We haven't seen the complete design for it. Rez, our consultant, is aware of our needs, especially for future maintenance, and that we're going to need something. If they cannot find a parcel or an area that can be housed, then we'll make accommodations at the site for that equipment.
Good.
Anyone else? Yes, I actually met with the son of Bradco that
Frank.
actually sold us the property today. And ultimately, they're planning on developing the other section, but that's long-term in the future. But young man, they actually, the business, I think, is in Georgia, which I thought they were a Florida-based business, but they're not.
Okay, next item is under new business, and this is pertaining to the local government area of opportunity. So in August of this year, we issued a request for proposals for the designation of a local government area of opportunity. This is specific to those developers that are pursuing the low-income housing tax credit program. Having the LGAO is a designation that adds a little further credential to applications when they submit those to Florida Housing. We received 2 applications or 2 submissions, and those were subsequently ranked and voted on by a subcommittee comprised of members of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Blue Sky Communities has a project titled Destiny Place. This is out off of Wrecker Highway, and it was ranked first and recommended for the LGAO designation issued by the city. We posted that in October, and there were no protests received from the other submittal. This is a joint venture between Blue Sky Communities and Trinity Worship Center International Ministries under the name Blue Trinity Place LLC. Pursuant to this recommended LGAO designation, the city is supporting the 9% low-income housing tax credit application for Destiny Place development, which consists of 88 multifamily units. They will submit the application for funding to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation this month. As you may recall, when we did the Florence Place project, we also had an LGAO that was assigned to that project. And with that comes a loan amount from the city for the the Florence Place. I believe it was $465,000 or roughly. That was 4 years ago. The required commitment from the city at this point is $610,000, which we have available within our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. If they get the 9% tax credit designation, we'll come back to the commission with an agreement or contract for review and acceptance that will include our contribution of those funds. I do want to point out that, so we had 2 projects that were approved or that came to us. One of them gets the designation. And I'm going to ask, who do I see here? I thought I saw Nancy Hurley to come to the podium just to help me if there's anything I miss on this. So the way this works is that you can only have, Polk County as a whole can only have 1 project that gets that tax credit designation, and they can only do 1 every 2 years, correct?
One every
I think it's one every year.
every year. So if you had 10 projects that came out of Polk County, only one of them can be funded through that program. There are 2 projects within Winter Haven. One is being recommended for an LGAO from the city. It's our understanding that the other project that wasn't recommended by our committee has been recommended by Polk County to receive their LGAO designation. So at the end of the day, that means that both projects have a equal shot in being considered. Now, only one of them can be awarded, and is there 3 or 4 other within the
No,
county?
I had heard there was three others. I think there was one from Haines City, and one coming out of Lakeland, and one coming out of Auburndale. That's one of the other developers had mentioned that.
So
So
if that's the case, you have 5 projects that would be considered coming out of Polk County, and only one of them can get it. Fortunately for us, it appears that 2 of the projects, the 2 that are within Winter Haven, both have an LGO designation. So 40% of the projects that are being submitted for consideration are in Winter Haven. The fact that only one of them can be awarded, that's okay. We have funding that would support either one of those projects as designated within our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. For this one, if it's selected, it's $610,000. The commission had previously made a commitment to the Winter Haven Housing Authority that if theirs was selected, we would contribute $1 million to theirs, which is a redevelopment of call it the Lucerne Park Housing Project.
Avenue Y.
Avenue Y, which is 60 units that would be replaced with 120 units.
120, yes.
So at this point, we're recommending to award the LGAO designation to Blue Trinity Place LLC.
I just, the Housing Authority project, since it has been, as you said, awarded the same designation from the county. However, their proposal would be enhanced with the commitment that we made.
I don't know how that's reviewed by Florida Housing. So I can't speak to that if it gives them greater clout in that or not. And I think we have to wait and see.
Yeah, and they're in the non-interference period now. I couldn't speak to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation because their application is open. So when I called to ask, they couldn't speak to me.
They couldn't speak to you.
Yeah, and it's very legal, all legal and very shut down. So you have to be very careful.
So are you asking?
Well, I know when the Villas of Lake Smart was submitting applications, we got both the county and the city of Winter Haven's support. I think the city put in, $250 or $350. John, you were here, you should remember.
I do remember that, by the way, and I believe it was 250.
250?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the county put theirs in. So that's, I just wanted to, we made that commitment to the Housing Authority of $1 million, and I just wanted to make sure that that was still on the table.
And the funding is there. Like I said, only one of these can be awarded. So,
Yeah, and that's what we know. Yeah, so
and if
both
for
of them not
some
gonna
reason,
get it.
if for some reason one of those other municipal LGO designated entities got it, then we retain all funds within our Affordable Housing Trust Fund and wait for the next opportunity to be supportive of somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm certain that all parties involved are going to continue to submit.
That's correct.
That's the way you have,
That's correct.
excuse me, that's the way you have to do it because it just doesn't happen. Usually, you're very fortunate if you get it on the first go around. But I know the Villas of Lake Smart took 3 submissions.
I had a developer inquire about the Yes in God's Backyard ordinance today. So they're looking into all the tools available
Yeah.
for next year.
Okay. So you say you will be able to speak with Florida Housing at some point?
Well, it's going to be after the applications are, the due date's over. They're not allowed to talk during this process. It could stop it for the entire state of Florida. I don't want to be the one to stop the entire state.
All right.
Commissioner Yates, did you have a question for us on that?
I did. So kind of building on, I think what the mayor was saying was, or just point of clarity for me, on the million, did we pass the same thing for that million, or is that million more just a verbal?
The commitment that the commission made verbal. Now they've asked about that since they got the other LGAO.
So would it be appropriate potentially for us to ratify the same sort of commitment of that $1 million to them? And would that give them any strength to their request at the state level?
I don't know that and I'll defer to the attorney on this. I think that the commission's commitment to that project prior, if that still holds true, then what they would expect from us and what they've inquired about is verification of that commitment. And I would provide that in form of a letter, a document for them. Again, it doesn't grant those dollars except in the event that they're awarded the project.
I guess I'm just thinking from the standpoint of their application for that winning lottery ball, would this give them any value? Does this agreement for Blue Sky give them a step up over the Winter Haven Housing Authority because they have this agreement and Winter Haven Housing Authority only has a verbal commitment from the commission?
No, because Winter Haven Housing Authority has a LGAO designation from Polk County.
But it would,
Right.
I think it would, for them to have that designation and also a commitment from Winter Haven.
And that's kind of my point.
I think it would enhance their.
They have the commitment from us.
I have a
verbal
question,
commitment.
not a written commitment like
Well,
this.
It would have to
I'll-
be
I'll-
in the application.
I'll do it either way, but I can tell you right now, if the housing authority thought they needed, they would have already come and asked for it.
I have a question just for context, because I don't know the answer to this, but maybe Ms. Hurley can shed some light on this. We engaged in this RFP 25-37.
Correct.
And when we did that, I presume we opened it to all and whoever had an interest.
Correct.
And we identified the parameters
Right.
of
right.
what it is we were going to recommend. And we received 2 submittals.
Yes.
And those submittals were then evaluated, and it is now being recommended that one of the submittals be given this LGAO designation.
Correct.
I don't see the Winter Haven Housing Authority project among that list.
That's correct.
So I just want to be clear that for whatever
That's
reason,
something to consider.
yeah, for whatever reason, I don't want to skew or create problems for the RFP that we've already gone through.
That's very good. Yes.
And so I really would caution the commission on the dais, without having further evaluation and review of really making any formal commitments beyond what is recommended tonight. I'm not certain of all the intricacies of why the Winter Haven Housing Authority did not apply or did not engage in the RFP process.
No, they did. They did.
They did. They were not selected.
They were not
Okay,
selected.
so they were not selected, so, all right. I think that's,
All we're asking at this time is the designation for the recommended the LGAO to go to the Blue
Sky.
Destiny
Yeah, Destiny
Place, Blue Trinity Place LLC for their application.
We could verbally approve, just agree tonight among ourselves, and then you guys, if it comes up, say, yo, as of December 4th, they reaffirmed their commitment.
I don't have any heartburn over this issue. It's just, I just want to be sure that every lottery ball that's entered for any development within Winter Haven for affordable housing
Yes.
has the best leg up possible. And if that means we need to do something similar for the Winter Haven Housing Authority, I'm just suggesting that we we look and see if we need to do that or not.
But you can't. You can't grant but one LGAO.
I know, but to me, if I'm looking at the two projects and this one's got an in writing award designation of 610,000 and this one just has a verbal, I'm going to put this one right here. And this one, all I'm trying to say is, and it may not be any value whatsoever in doing it, but if it could be, then I think we should explore that possibility of giving them the same agreement that we've done here
I have
is,
a question.
is all I'm suggesting.
Apparently we can't do, but
You
one,
can't, you're,
right?
so
How we
what,
out here? I don't understand what.
Could I just ask a
Go ahead.
question?
We-
What you're saying to me is we've selected one and we selected the Blue Sky Trinity or Blue Trinity place. But also the county has selected the other one and they're going to be in competition anyway. Only one of them can go. And so whoever goes will get the funding from us.
they both can go. Okay, so you can have, if you have that LGAO designation, and the uniqueness is the county covers the entire county.
Right. Mhm.
Our designation is recommended to Blue Trinity Place. That puts them in that lottery. The Housing Authority with an LGO from Polk County is also in that lottery mix of equal values at that point, okay? Regardless, only one of them can be selected. So you will only fund one at the end of the day, whichever one
Wins.
wins out in the process of whatever that is with Florida Housing.
My question is this. If Blue Sky is not funded and the Housing Authority is with the tax credits, the commitment that we made previously could still be put with that project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a given.
So when Florence
Man,
Place,
but no, let me finish. The thing is that from what we did here, the only thing that shows what we did is it relates to the Housing Authority is whatever appears in the minutes of that meeting when we said that. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that signifies that.
so then what I would, if that's of concern, what I would recommend is that separate from this, at a different meeting, bring back forward a commitment for official action by the commission that if that project were awarded the LGAO, that.
Or
it'd be-
just confirm it. Just,
Or even reach out to Winter Haven Housing Authority and find out if that would be any value. If it's not any value,
It
then there's
will.
no important
I'm-
dealing. But I
I-
think it would be.
I'm saying, I know enough about it.
So when Florence Place came forward, they had an LGAO designation from City of Winter Haven, $465,000 financial commitment. They also subsequently received, I believe, $2 million from Polk County for that
Exactly.
project.
Exactly.
Separate, and that's not LGAO
No,
tied. It's just
exactly.
it was a
Exactly.
financial piece.
Exactly. So
So-
it does matter.
So
mean,
I think at this point, what we're asking is just for the LGAO designation on this one project.
Right. But in the meanwhile, I would like to make sure that it's official,
Is
that the commitment that we made
is that a past commitment that you made?
2 years ago.
So
At
you're
least.
bringing it forward because we have to honor the procurement process that we just did with the Southern.
It's totally separate from
Okay,
this.
okay,
Totally
okay.
Separate.
from
No,
this.
it's separate from that.
Because I think they're going to be wanting to use this old commitment to put in prior to the due date of November 19th for this next application.
We'll research that, Mayor.
Okay. All right.
But at this point, what we're asking for is that designation
we-
assignment.
I think we all understand that we definitely are going to go probably with the recommendation that the committee made, the procurement committee made, but just want to make sure that the commitment that we made previously to the Housing Authority,
I just get one more point of clarity here. The previous Blue Sky that we did, that was a grant, right?
It's a loan.
It was a loan.
It's
I was thinking it was a grant.
No, they're done as a loan and they are forgivable. But it is designated as a loan.
Okay.
And one of the requirements of the loan, there's a mortgage, and it's recorded in the public records, and they have to maintain a certain percentage of affordability for a certain
Affordability.
length of time.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And
And
so
so that
same deal
is-
on this one. So really, and there's not really a huge chance for this ever to come back to us.
When you say
What
come
way?
back to us, you mean
If
this
it's a loan, you expect repayment, but as long as they keep those prices set, then we'll never see this money again. And in all likelihood, that is the case for this.
At the end of the affordability term, they would have to come back to the then city commission and request that it be forgiven.
That it be forgiven.
And that would be a decision for the city
Right.
commission to make at that
And,
time.
and the concept is that that money has been utilized to provide affordable housing in the community for however 40 years.
It's usually
Which they
15.
would document at that
Depends on
time
what-
as the
15
requesting, they would
15 to
document
30.
that
Yeah.
what they've offered.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that they've offered value by way of affordable housing that meets the metrics and the standards.
Got it.
And then the commission could be assured that our money has been spent in a wise
Yeah.
and fiduciarily sound way.
I'm clear on that.
It's the current balance in the housing trust fund.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't hear you.
Balance in the current trust fund.
CJ, we just looked at this the other day. I want to say it's about 1.5, thereabout.
That was the last thing I heard.
Yep.
Close to 1.4, 1.5.
Yep.
I'm ready to spend it.
And we transfer in each year $250,000 as part of the budgeting
Right.
process from the general fund. I think its interest earnings were $30,000, if I'm not mistaken. We pay out from that $295,000 goes to Hartford Winter Haven for their efforts addressing homelessness amongst families with school-aged children. So we've had a sufficient amount in there over the past few years without having to award out, a big chunk.
All right, next item.
For item 13B, I'll defer to the city clerk for this.
Thank you, City Manager. So this item right here is in reference to the certification of the November 4th regular city election. So as we already know that our election concluded yesterday, and we do have a runoff in December 2nd, but this certification is for the regular election. And we are going to be certifying the election, and we are also going to be doing a random race and precinct selection here. We do have a meeting tomorrow to do that, and that'll be at 5:05 p.m. So
That'll be actually the canvassing board.
yes, the canvassing board meeting. Mhm. So of course, we already know that for seat number 4, we had Matthew Crowley, Chad Davis, and Manuel Fonseca. And now the runoff will be between Matthew Crowley and Chad Davis. And of course, for seat number 5, we had Clifton Dollison and Melinda Calagridis. And the winner of that election was Commissioner Dollison. So congratulations to you. And so that is what that one is all about. And once that's done, on Friday, after the canvassing board meeting concludes tomorrow, I will be tallying all the information and preparing a fact sheet. And that fact sheet will be uploaded on Friday in preparation for Monday's meeting. That's why this particular item does not have a fact sheet in the normal, the certifications of that election.
Okay. All right, then we have, we need to have a liaison for the aviation fuel supplier.
If so desired.
Tracy? All right, it'll be Tracy.
And then also for the CEI services for
Yes.
the recharge project at Bradco.
I'll take that one.
Thank you, sir. And Mayor and Commissioners, if I could just back up, I do want to reiterate what the city clerk had said, that there is a canvassing board tomorrow at 5:05. So if you're a member of the canvassing board, I want to make sure you have that on your calendar. I don't know that meeting takes an awful long time.
It's a fairly short meeting.
So just so
To the
you're aware.
extent there are any
Would you have a quorum?
provisional ballots, there may be, depending on what we get from the supervisor of elections office, we'll have to perhaps sort through those, but that hopefully won't, take too terribly long.
Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about the election just real quick. I'd rather do it now than until after this other thing. And I meant to chime in when Brian brought this up the other night, but my mind was elsewhere and I apologize. But I really do think, and again, this won't affect me anymore, but I really do think we should come up with locations that are government owned. And I've got a whole bunch of them in my mind that we can send out new cards, because I received way too many complaints yesterday about people not finding their locations, their precincts. Too confusing, and it was just first time it's ever been a problem. And I think we need to, and I talked to Melanie Bell last night. It's up to us where we put them. Okay. And we're going to have two complexes. We can have the golf course out there. We can use Norameo. We can use Women's Center. We can use something on, Garden Club. We've got all kinds of buildings that we use. Let's pick some. All of us can agree and make those the new precincts, and they'll never change again because they're all government owned buildings. And let's get people used to going to the right precincts. And then we contact with Melanie Bell's office to send everybody brand new cards. We have 2 years to publicize to people where they vote. And I just feel like the complaints and the aggravation that I was getting yesterday during the election just shouldn't happen. And I'm just trying to figure out how to make this sure this doesn't ever happen again. And it all had to do with locations changing. And let's get out of dealing with churches. Let's use government-run buildings, government-owned buildings. We have enough. And let's just put our head to it and let's figure this out. It's time to reboot. And let's try to quit doing what we've always done. Let's kind of rethink this thing. That's just my feeling. And I meant to say that the other day when you brought it up, but my head was miles away on something else. So
Well, that's why I mentioned it the other day. I was already getting those calls, like, where do we go? What do we do? You're already, and so I could just see the storm brewing, and it sure enough flared up on election day.
It's okay. The election went fine. It's just, I'm just saying in the future that people shouldn't have to wonder about voting. You know what I mean? It should be simple.
And if I can add something, there were postcards mailed. We always do that for every single election. And those postcards do have their new voting locations. And I understand maybe not everybody takes a look at that, but if there was a change, it was on their cards.
Not on
It's
their voter's ID card. That's what everybody looks
Oh,
at.
it was the voter ID cards?
Yeah,
Okay,
everybody
that
looks at
was-
their voter's ID card, and it's rare that they're going to compare that against some postcard. But if we send out 4 postcards over the next 2 years, maybe people will get it. But when they get their voter's ID card and it's in their wallet or it's in their wherever they keep it, because mine still says Resurrection Lutheran Church. And my son came home and he's like, do I still vote at the Lutheran Church? I said, no, you're at the Presbyterian Church now. So he wouldn't have known. But I'm just trying to say we just can't change precincts. We need to pick some, whatever they are, whatever we agree on, and let's just leave them. That's all I'm saying. I'm not complaining per se, but I'm saying I just received way too many aggravated people calling me that we just need to put our heads to it and come up with a solution. And we've got 2 years until the next election. So let's start working on it now and not let it get away from us. And we in 18 months, we start thinking, oh no, what do we got to do? You know what I mean? Let's do it now. And while it's still fresh in our mind. So that's all. And I apologize for not chiming in the other day, but I was thinking about something else.
Those locations, are they determined, I think you said in accord with the supervisor of election? So it wasn't just us doing it, or is it them giving input with regard? But then you just stated that they said.
I asked Melanie Bell last night. She said, y'all can put them where you want. It's up to you. So I said, okay, well, that's the good news because we can come up with a plan. Now, she may want to bless it, but we can come up with a plan and use government buildings, and then everybody gets used to going. Like I said, I went to the Armory for 20 years when I started voting, and then all of a sudden the Armory's not a factor anymore. So, let's just come up with something. It's not hard. Let's just start And then if we're consistent for 2 years, we won't have this problem again.
Yeah, for example, Vanessa, with the two changes that were made, how was that made? When you, I mean,
So-
how did you choose those particular locations?
So that particular listing was of all the polling locations that the elections office
Yes.
uses, that listing is provided to me, and between myself and also some other staff from the elections office, we kind of put our heads together and figure out, okay, what makes the most sense that will still be in that quadrant of the city. Now, one particular location, Spring Haven, was just a 3-minute driving distance from Abiding Savior
Right.
to Spring Haven. So
Right.
it was very close as to not inconvenience people. And the other location, which that would have been Cypress Ridge Presbyterian, that's like an 8-minute drive from Overlook. So we kind of look at that and try to make sure it still can absorb all those voters with the same precinct number. So we don't want it too far out. And we also, want it to be a location that has had the experience of having other elections. So they're not brand new to the process. So yeah, I worked in conjunction with Melanie's staff, and that's how we come up with those
So
locations.
currently, we're not using any of our buildings.
Only one, and that's the Senior Adult Center. Some years ago, we did use the Chain of Lakes.
Right.
And because of all the construction and everything, we had to move that polling location to Southside Baptist. So that's how that came about. So we used to have 2 city facilities that we use for elections. Now we just have the one, as to not
If we're
disrupt it
using our
again.
own places, we don't have to rent anything.
Right,
it's
it does
cheaper.
make it easier.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and there was a change some years ago with another location. We used to use Champions Church on Havendale Boulevard.
Right.
And their AC quit, and they didn't want to, do any elections. So that's how we got to Abiding Savior. But Abiding Savior decided for this election, they didn't want to do any elections anymore. And then Calvary Baptist, they opened up a school, so they no longer could accommodate us.
Right.
So that's why we were forced to change.
Yeah, I would just say that our desire is to keep those as consistent as it possibly can, not just for our elections, but in the same fashion as what is used within the midterm elections on the federal and state level, because it creates consistency. And I think that if we identify locations for and not disagreeing with what Commissioner Dancer is saying, if there's a way to do that within city facilities, it wouldn't just necessarily be for city elections, but I think that's for all elections as they come forward next November, when in 26, when there's a midterm election, that they be able to house those as well, so that you're not creating that confusion. We don't look at the sites and say, hey, let's make the change. That change comes about because somebody can no longer serve as a host site for elections. So Calvary Baptist Church, Abiding Savior, those have been sites that we've used Calvary Baptist for a number of years, and then opted to say, hey, we can't serve this year, so we have to find someplace else. I don't disagree with what you're saying, Commissioner Dancer, and if we can certainly identify city facilities that are in the geographic areas that make it accommodating.
Or it could be county facilities, and I don't think people mind driving from 3 minutes to 5 minutes if they know that when they get there, that's where they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? It's like, if we're trying to make sure it's just a 5-minute drive and they can drive 7 minutes to get to Willowbrook Golf Course, and that's where they're used to voting for the next 10 years. They all know they go to Willowbrook, then they're not going to care if it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I don't think, but that's just me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I will say that, in considering locations, we have to make sure, again, that it's capable of handling the size of election body that you get. And again, looking at what it requires on a midterm election and the volume of people that come out to the actual polls, making sure you got enough space, the parking, the how they get in, how they get out, because that's all very heavily regulated by the SOE and their protocols. Normail Hall we still use as an early voting location on midterm elections in concert with the SOE. They reach out for that for several weeks. Next fall, I'm sure they'll be back in there. Winter Haven Recreation Culture Center becomes an ideal location for elections. Chain Lakes Park can be an ideal location for elections. When we get into southeast Winter Haven, it becomes a little more challenging of trying to find that location that's a city building because we just don't have much out there. But
Firehouse, I know it's not ideal, but you know, you've got a brand new firehouse out there that's got checks a lot of those boxes. Or they're all, you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, from a midterm election, it would not be able to handle the capacity.
why?
There's just not enough space in there. There's not enough parking in there, getting in and out while you have emergency services running out of it.
Could we do this? Could you just basically make an assessment of the facilities and bring them, and then we can have a discussion about it, because we could be talking about something that's just not going to hold the mustard if we can't get one section of the city where we have a facility. You know, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's all I was asking is why can't we just study it and come up with
Yeah,
and come
and
up
that's
with
what I'm asking, just for a workshop, for a general review, bring it, and we can have that discussion and either fly with it or not fly with it. Okay,
Certainly.
all right,
It's a good
thank you.
idea.
All right. Was there one more?
The only thing we have remaining, sir, is the pillar
Oh, yeah,
update on
the
community
pillar.
safety. So this is your strategic pillar update pertaining to community safety. Well, I think we've explained, and certainly the commission has a sound understanding of what's involved in this. So for this evening, if you can advance that slide for me, please. The items that we're going to discuss with you tonight, just some updates on our National Night Out program, which is put on by our police department. A little additional update on the Floridinos building. Cybersecurity software platform from our IT department. An update on our lead and copper efforts pertaining to federal laws that we're required to comply with. The risk and resilience assessment being done within our utilities water department. And then I'm going to give you a quick rundown on where we stand on concealed carry guidance that we've issued out to our staff. So with that, Patrick, take it away.
All yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I'm Sergeant Patrick Condor, and it is a pleasure to be able to talk to you about the National Night Out. What this event is, it's an annual community event that promotes partnerships between first responders and the community that they serve. It originally originated in 1984 by Matt Peskin in Pennsylvania. He was a member of the National Association of Town Watch, and what he wanted to do was form an event that occurred annually that did exactly what I just stated about forming partnerships with community members and letting the community see first responders in a personal light instead of not just seeing them on traumatic events or calls for service for horrible medical incidents. This is it's an event that started with roughly about 400 communities. It has now spread to approximately 17,000 communities across the country in all 50 states. What we traditionally do with this event is we host it anywhere between August and October. It also goes into the month of November as well. And these events are placed at Abbey Lane Apartments. That's actually right across from Sertoma Park in Southwest. And Palm Place, we conducted this event. That's also south of Motor Pool. And Lake Ashton has been temporarily postponed, but we are in talks with them to have an event there as well. Now, at these events, there are games, there's food, there's the property management will usually buy pizza. Approximately, we had at the Palm Place and at Abbey Lane, we had approximately about 70 residents that participated in this. So, and as you can see in one of the photographs that we have, there's a fire truck there at these events where the kids love the fire trucks, and I hate to admit this in front of the fire chief, but I too love the little fire hats that they hand out. So there might have been a picture taken that was deleted, but we have games there, and these are family-based games, candy, and we also hand out plastic badges as well, and little goodie bags that have different little trinkets in it. Little coloring books for the kids. It's a tremendous event to have also for the first responders that go to it, because it allows us, the members of Winter Haven Public Safety, to experience being in these communities, not just for a traumatic event or a horrible medical incident. In the future, we do plan on going to more communities, and the communities that we've been in contact with are very receptive of it, and we continue to make that we will continue to have this grow in the future. And before I turn it over to Tanya, do any of you have any questions for me about the National Night Out? Okay, thank you. And I'm going to turn this over to Tanya.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, I'd like to give you an update on the old Florentino's building. Just for reference, this building is located at Spring Lake Square. It's just south of the racetrack, and the entrance is on 8th Street Northwest. The property is owned by Landmark Investments. They own all of those properties in there between Havendale and the lake. The restaurant permanently closed in 2021 after a kitchen fire. In October of 2024, Hurricane Milton came through and damaged the structure. The photos you're looking at right now were taken just a few days after Hurricane Milton. So you can see on the south side of the structure, we have some collapse. The roof collapsed, the awning, and the exterior south wall was exposed. Over the following months, the building continued to deteriorate pretty rapidly. So it was cited by code compliance as an unsafe structure and proceeded to a special magistrate hearing. In April, the city was able to secure a demolition order through our code compliance special magistrate, giving 120 days to come into compliance. On October 22nd, the demolition was completed. So the photo at the left shows the debris once the building had been knocked down. And then a few days after that, they cleaned up all of the debris, and that is the current condition of the property. At this time, we are not aware of the owner's plans for the property, other than that they do intend to keep it fenced to keep people off of the property until they figure out what they're going to do. You have any questions?
Question. What about the other corner, the other building?
Which one? The other restaurant? We have cases there as well. It's structurally sound. It's still operating, but we actually have 5 active cases on all of the Landmark properties at this time.
What does that mean, backed up cases?
We have 5 cases so they own 3 parcels in there. We have 5 cases on all 3 of those parcels for
Not in compliance or?
For various issues between junk, permitting, expansion of use, inoperable vehicles.
The building that's there now is not in danger or falling over. It's in good shape. Or it used to be a fish, or I think like Captain D's or something.
That was this one.
Yeah.
This is the old Captain D's. You can kind of make it out from that
Is that on the right or the left as you're going down the driveway? You guys
left.
Left.
The one on the right was like.
That's a Mexican restaurant.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Okay.
Still operating.
And it's in good shape.
It's not in great shape, but it's structurally sound.
Is that one? Is that?
We do.
Okay. All right.
Question, so what we're looking at to the right is they tore it down, but they left the foundation, is that correct?
They did.
Is that normal?
I don't normally see demolitions done when the foundation is left. They did have reasons why they wanted to. What they advised me is that they were hoping that they would have somebody want to rebuild and use that same foundation. Normally, when we do a demolition, we remove the foundation as well.
Yeah, it's rather unusual, you know. And whether or not it would even meet code today, you know, relative to that, I don't know. That would be a question.
That is a good question.
But it is permissible for the city or for us to allow that for the foundation to remain.
For them to leave the foundation is not a code violation, especially if they keep the property fenced, so we don't have to worry about it becoming a hazard. But of course, as I said, we already have other cases within that area, so we will be monitoring, and if there is an issue, we'll address it.
Very good. All right.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Rob now to talk about cybersecurity.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Our department would like to provide an update on our cybersecurity software initiatives as part of the Community Safety Strategic Pillar. We recently invested in a third-party risk management platform. This platform helps keep our organization safe by checking external vendors and partners for security problems. It gives us real-time alerts, safety ratings, so we can find and fix issues early, preventing problems like data breaches, downtime, and compliance risk. This platform works like a consumer guide for cars, but instead of rating vehicles for safety and reliability, it rates our vendors and partners for cybersecurity and risk. Just as a car buyer would check for safety ratings to avoid buying a dangerous and unreliable car, our organization uses this platform to check platform's ratings and alerts to avoid working with vendors that could put our data and operations at risk. So this is part of a best practice for the NIST cybersecurity framework adopted by the city. And as you can see in the slide, our vendors generally have a good security posture. The average security rating of our 28 monitored vendors is a 787 out of 950. Along with making sure our current vendors are maintaining a good security posture, we are actively using this tool to assess new vendors and ensure they meet our cybersecurity standards. Again, this is an effort aimed to reducing risk for our operations from third-party vendors. That includes citizen-facing services such as our water department customer portal. This platform also tracks our own security rating, and as you can see, we're currently tracking ahead of the industry standard with a rating of 794, which is 91 points ahead of the average security rating for organizations in our industry. And our staff is actively working to reduce our organizational risk while continuously improving our security posture and improving this rating. Also, I'd like to add, we were also awarded a grant for cybersecurity software by Florida Digital Services this year, and we'll continue to apply for future funding. Any questions?
So commissioners, on this one, I think this is kind of interesting. This is, we have a number of platforms we use that are the interface between us and a customer. And, we're constantly monitoring breaches that can come into affect, say, the city's financials or documents that we store. This provides a safeguard to the customers who are utilizing our services as well. So if they're accessing something through Access Winter Haven or through the SEW platform for our water services, those types of things, we're vetting those out to make sure that that is a secure vendor we're dealing with, that they don't have vulnerabilities that could put our customers at risk. And I think this really harkens back to something Commissioner Dancer asked about several months back about when we look at vendors, how do we evaluate them when we're looking at software platforms that we want to utilize, OpenGov and things like that. This helps make sure that we're checking them to make sure they've got safeguards in place for those protections.
How much was the grant?
So the grant was for 2 softwares. So they offered various software that we could, cybersecurity software So we were actually able to utilize the grant to get those softwares.
I see.
It was more of a product grant
product
than
Right,
grant.
than a
correct.
dollar value.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have information about those if you'd like them as well.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to pass it over to David.
Good evening, Mayor Birdsong and Commissioners. My name is David Hernandez, and I'm currently, as my role as Superintendent in the Water Department, I'm here tonight to give you an update on the lead and copper rule. Wanted to share with you on this first slide the efforts that we've made over the last 2 years. To date, we've replaced 35 lead service lines. They were identified and replaced per FDEP requirements. We've also replaced 54 galvanized service lines that needed replacement. To this point, since we started almost 2 years ago, we've performed 3,779 digs. I forgot to include it on the slide, but I wanted to share that with you. As of today, we can say confidently that 65% of our water system has been confirmed as non-lead. Our water crews have been out there busy canvassing the neighborhoods and making sure that the water is safe for our residents. We also reached compliance. We had to submit our annual report to the Polk County Health Department, and we went ahead and submitted this in time. We have plenty of work to do. FDEP has given all community water systems till 2037 to go ahead and get that lead out of the water system. But we have a goal as a department of getting that done as quickly as possible. We still have about 15,564 service lines that still are unknown. We don't know what the service line material is, but we will be investigating these. 2026, we have a plan of completing another 1,000 soft digs for the following year. In this next slide, you can appreciate our water crews out there in the community water system. Over the past years, the water department has purchased some equipment that has aided us in quickly doing these soft digs, identifying what these service lines are. In the past, this was done with a machine, a backhoe, or an excavator, which took a lot of time and created a lot of work. So we're very swiftly able to determine what the service line materials are. And in fact, if it has to be replaced, we have an example right there in the middle of the current service line material that we are installing in-house with our water crews. In 2024, we partnered with Trinex, which is a digital company that has a platform that we currently use. It's called Leadcast. Basically, it's leveraging our artificial intelligence. Predictive modeling is what we're currently using. And basically what the predictive modeling does, it allows us to identify where the lead and galvanized pipes may be, which in turn our crews can work more efficiently. As the system receives more information, it properly updates the predictive model. In the last slide here, this is a screenshot I took a while ago. Our residents can go on the city website and can view the status of their service line. Here, Katrina is demonstrating for us how easy it is to go on the city website and in fact, look up your service line. And basically, FDEP classifies service line as lead status unknown, non-lead, lead and galvanized requiring replacement. So our residents are able to view this online. I'll take any questions if there is any.
Commissioners, I'd just like to add a thought with this. So when we're talking about lead within the water system, it's not lead that's coming out of our potable water, production. This is where you have historically a lead gooseneck that was industry standard in the pre-1980, going back even further than that. So older communities may have a lead gooseneck that's there. And over time, if that were to erode or deteriorate, you can have problems with that. So that's the whole purpose of the lead and copper rule. We use the predictive modeling. We do soft digs. We know that homes that were built after a certain year, that's not an issue because that product was no longer allowed to be used. So that rules out a big portion of the community. It's going into the older neighborhoods, doing those soft digs, assessing. That predictive modeling uses years of construction and a variety of different parameters for the individual properties, and generates ultimately, I believe it's after 4 rounds of processing the model and all the soft digs, will give us a 95% accuracy on where you would have lead within the entire system without having to go and excavate every single connection that's out there. So it is an accepted protocol and tool in doing this. And we are, as David said, we're about 2 years into it. Those that we found, we've replaced, and we continue to explore the unknowns.
I had a question for you. So the 2037 date,
Yes, sir.
that's when it absolutely has to be out. But at the rate we're working, we should have it long before 2037.
Yeah,
shouldn't we?
absolutely. I think the way that we're going about it, we'll be able to pinpoint specifically where that is, and then it's just a matter of going and doing the replacements, and they've been few and far between where we've found so far.
Okay, let me ask you one more question. The 65%, how long will it take us to get to 100%?
So just to give you like an idea, we have 45,612 service connections throughout the city.
Right.
So we still have 15,000 plus that are unknown. The 29,000 that you see as non-lead, a lot of those homes are newer construction home, and basically the Florida lead ban took effect in 1989. So any home built after 1989, we were able to exclude, and that's where the predictive modeling helped us to exclude and concentrate our efforts of where these homes are maybe.
But still, that's the deadline date is the 2037.
2037. We have a goal as a department of completing this project in 6 to 7 years. That is our goal, and I think at the speed we're going, I think we're going to attain that.
Just one other question, because I know it's a very costly operation, and so we budget that in our water and
Yes,
so
so
that's none of that is incorporated into our rate plan, is it?
Well, it's factored within the budget of the department, which goes into how rates are set up. Your capital and your operations factor into your rate structure, but this really involves the expense of the Trinex subscription, the predictive modeling software, and then we're utilizing in-house staff to go and do those soft digs. They're specifically assigned to that project, so it's absorbed within the routine operations.
So really and truly, we have totally made arrangements to see our project through in a much timely fashion than that 2037, because I know some other municipalities are struggling to even get to the 2037.
And I think it really comes down to how old are those communities. So if you haven't had if you're a significant amount of growth pre-1989, then you're likely to have challenges there. And I give credit to our water department and our IT department work together to figure out how's the best way to do this. If you're not using predictive modeling, which is an accepted protocol and practice by EPA, if you're just doing this by hand digging, it's going to take an awful long time. At the same token, you have communities that really didn't see a whole lot of development until post-1990. And so their ability to check the box and say, hey, we don't have anything, can be real quick. I think we're We're kind of in the mid-range of that. You know, we have historic development and new development, but we're also utilizing advanced practices to get to it quickly.
All right.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Galvanized pipe, do we have a lot of galvanized?
We had 166 up to a couple weeks ago. We also had the 13 lead that have already been swapped out. So if you go on the website right now, it's going to look at 0 for lead. But we have approximately about 166 that are classified as galvanized requiring replacement. They would be, lead would be a high priority. If you had to put it in simple terms, galvanized requiring replacement is a medium priority, but we will get to those addresses eventually. I did want to ask, I wanted to add, according to Winter Haven Census reports, 1920, the population of this town was 1,597 residents. In 2000, that went up to 26,487 residents. And in 2025, we are now at 52,856 residents. So a lot of those homes we've excluded because they are kind of new construction.
Just real quick, are you heading this project up? If you are, I want to thank you, because this is the kind of stuff, you're doing yeoman's work, and this is the kind of thing that government really makes a difference in somebody's life. So thank you for doing that. I know you're going to get it ahead of schedule, and it really needs to be done. So I appreciate it. I want to throw out asbestos real quick. Is that concern? Do you have concern about asbestos? Is that one of the ones that's sort of down the list like some of the others, or is that one that you're focusing on as well?
The EPA's priority right now is getting the lead out. AC water lines are too a priority. However, we do have some in town, and we need to get them. We have planned in the future to get them out of the ground, but as long as you don't disturb it, it doesn't really cause any safety issues.
Asbestos, you mean?
Asbestos, yes.
You have to wear like suits and stuff to pull it out. It's a bigger ordeal to get rid of that.
Yeah, every one of our water services has to be certified as asbestos contractor. They go through a school, about a week-long school. They get training, and whenever we're replacing sections of pipe that are AC, they have to wear their mask, and there's protocols we have to follow.
One of the things is that as long as you know the materials for your pipeline, you can pretty well, they have approved certain materials in the past that they won't accept now. So those are the ones you have to remove and get out.
Well, from my point of view, this is exactly what we as a local government should be doing for our citizens.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
keep it up. Thank you for taking this on, because this is a really quality of life issue that you can point to and say, this is what we're doing, and it means a lot. So that's the way I see it.
And this is required of every public water supplier in the nation. So it's not just a Winter Haven thing, but all the municipalities that have water systems in Polk County, throughout the state, throughout all 50 states have to do this.
Flint, Michigan kind of talks all.
Yes, sir. That's the origin of this.
All right. We'll continue on with David Nicholson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to talk a little about our risk and resilience assessment, which we are currently completing under the America's Water Infrastructure Act. Now, the risk and resilience assessment is a lot more than just a compliance requirement. It's a strategic assessment of our risks and vulnerabilities facing our utility as a whole. That includes both drinking water and wastewater systems, because at the end of the day, both are essential to protecting public health and the environment. I would like to note that the federal requirement is only to assess our drinking water systems. However, as a city, we choose to assess the entire utility, including our administration and customer service divisions. The EPA requires us to internally update this document every year. However, every 5 years, the assessment should be updated through a third party for recertification by the EPA. We are now in our second assessment cycle, with the assessment being on track for completion and submission to the EPA by our deadline, which is December 31st, 2025. The process asks us to take a hard look at everything that keeps our utility running. We examine physical assets like treatment plants, storage tanks, lift stations, pipelines. We look at our cyber systems like the SCADA and computer networks that control and monitor our operations. We consider how would we respond if something unexpected were to happen, whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, lightning strike, power outage, equipment failure, or a cyber or physical security threat. By identifying the risks ahead of time, we can prioritize improvements and budget accordingly based on our final report, such as updating security measures, both physical and tech related, reinforcing critical infrastructure, we improve our backup systems, or strengthening our communication and emergency response plans. Now, why do we do this? Because our community relies on us every single day. Clean drinking water and reliable wastewater treatment are fundamental services that we provide. People count on us to protect their health, their homes, and their environment. Completing the assessment helps ensure that we're prepared to keep those services running no matter what challenges we face moving forward. It also helps us to be proactive rather than reactive. Instead of waiting for an incident to happen, the assessment allows us to plan, invest wisely, and build resilience into our systems and operations. So, in closing, while a risk and resilience assessment is a federal requirement, it's really much more than that. It's about making our utilities stronger, safer, and more dependable for our residents and for future generations. I stand for any questions if you have them.
The comment on this is a fascinating project. And I commend Gary and Mark and David and all the folks that worked on this. When they first did this third-party assessment back in 2000, we brought together members across the entire organization to do a tabletop exercise in emergency planning. And normally when we do that in local government, we're talking about hurricanes. And the scenario that was presented to us at that point had to do with contamination in the water system. And those are the things that, can happen but until you stop and prepare for it, you don't realize how unprepared you may be for it. And so the update to that plan, it walks them through just about every possible scenario that could happen. What to do if there's an equipment failure, if there's a technological cyber attack, if there's a hurricane, those types of things. And it folds in all these different departments. It assesses the vulnerabilities within every site that we have, and really positions us well. It is beyond a comprehensive emergency management plan. It truly looks ahead, and not just how do you react to something, but how do you prevent something on the front. So commend the team for their work on this. And the last thing I want to share with you this evening from a public safety standpoint, and ask Mr. Carnevale to pass down to you some guidance that we have issued from my office to our staff. So as you know, recently there's been an appellate court decision on or ruling on Florida's concealed carry law that made some significant changes to that in the sense that Florida is, for the most part, an open carry, constitutional carry state at this point. That where you used to be able to go and could have a concealed weapon with you, now you can go into those same places and have a non-concealed firearm with you. And I don't know if any of you have seen that in public as of yet. In any of your travels, I experienced that over the weekend at a shopping facility that someone was walking with a sidearm, in full display, a little unsettling. We felt it necessary to provide some guidance to our staff because we have a number of facilities that historically have been places where you could conceal carry, and now those are open carry facilities. So you may walk into the field house and see somebody with a firearm on their side, or in the library, or in the building division, or customer service, or even here in City Hall when we don't have a government meeting that is taking place, a meeting of this board or those that you appoint. So we issued the document that you have before you out to our staff because our concern is, one, we want to make sure we're not doing anything in violation of the law, that we're not in some way, fashion, imposing on someone's Second Amendment rights or what is outlined in statute at this point. We also want to make sure that our staff is able to respond to the citizen that comes forward with their own concerns about, hey, that guy has a gun on him, and that we can respond accurately and factually and try and calm that situation to explain what the rules are. So Julie Adams with our Parks and Recreation Department had reached out. We had her reach out to her colleagues in the profession here in the state to see what other cities were doing. We looked through Chief Monroe and the Florida Police Chiefs Association, see what kind of guidance they were giving, and then also to our city attorneys and his staff to get some guidance, which allowed us to create this guidance document. And that's simply what it is. We want to make sure that our staff is informed, not only to safeguard themselves and the public, but also respond to questions that come up and don't put us in a position to violate anyone's rights in the process. We have some questions still, and I wish there were easy answers to them. There's a lot of questions about long guns, a lot of questions about school-sanctioned facilities that are hosted on city properties that we are still trying to chase down. I anticipate that when we get into the legislative session this year, although I've not seen any bills personally that have been filed to address language that needs to be addressed within the existing statute, I have confidence that we will hear some of that, or at least see some bills come forward. But this is the reality that we face today, that, you know, you may go to Theater Winter Haven for a production and the person next to you has a firearm. You may go to the tennis courts for a game of pickleball and somebody's walking around with a firearm. That's the reality in which we live. Fortunately, we have not seen a whole lot of that within our facilities, but you know, when you have big events in parks and things of that nature, it is not unlikely something that we won't come across at some point. So this is simply to make sure our staff, our law enforcement folks, everybody is up to speed, and we wanted to provide you a copy of that as well, and certainly be able to answer any questions you may have in that regard.
Are they allowed to bring guns in here?
Not, well,
That's a good question.
so not in a place where a governing body is holding a meeting. However, this is one of the snafus within the legislation, is that the way that the concealed carry law was written, remember, you used to have to have a concealed carry permit, and they took away the permit requirement so anybody could carry concealed. It addresses handguns. It does not address things like long guns, and that's one of the big issues that has to be fixed within the statute, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many, is that you cannot come into this space right now with a handgun, either concealed or open carried. But the legislation does not speak to, can you walk in here with a shotgun over your shoulder in an unconcealed fashion?
Can we pass an ordinance really quick that puts out there?
No, sir.
No, sir, you cannot.
No shotguns.
No, sir, you cannot, because you are preempted to the state.
But I mean, the guys that guard us can sit up and say, hey, we got an ordinance. You got to take that shotgun. back
That's
to the
why
car."
you have guys that are standing outside in much greater fashion than before until that gets fixed.
You can bring a shotgun, but not a pistol.
So, and so our take, out of an abundance of caution, is that also pertains to your CRA board, your planning commission, your appointed boards that are carrying out a government function on your behalf.
Anybody's going to get shot, it's going to be us.
There is some question, I don't want to contradict city manager, but there is still some question as to the governing body is this body, and likely the CRA, because it's a special district, but as to whether the planning commission or the magistrate or any other AHAC, that's an open question as to whether or not this prohibition on carrying just handguns applies to those meetings. It may or may not.
There's also a question about, I mentioned school sanctioned facilities, that we're trying to get some understanding of that, because school properties are exempt from the open carry and conceal. You cannot take a weapon onto school property, but we're trying to get clarity on what happens when a school is having a sanctioned school event on city property. Does that trump the city property in terms of being a public space? So lots of questions there that still remain to be answered. Hence the reason I felt it necessary to provide guidance to our staff. And we will continue to address that as issues arise and as we receive further clarification from the state legislature and other persons of authority on the matter.
Okay. Anything else?
And we will do everything we can to protect our general public in this space and every place else that we have.
All right, then we have our reports and emergency matters. A motion to adjourn.
I do have some information regarding the election.
Oh.
So just please, I had mentioned some items earlier. Just bear with me just 1 second. Please be reminded, there's a canvassing board meeting tomorrow, Thursday, November 7th, here in John Fuller at 5:05 PM for the random race and precinct selection and certification of election results. Provisional ballots will be reviewed at this meeting, yet I have not received them today. A quorum must be present for that meeting. Once that meeting is over, I will add any provisional ballot information to the November 10th summary sheet and certificates of the canvassing boards for seats 4 and 5 regarding the certification of the November 4th election. Also, we do have a post-election audit next Wednesday, November 12th at 2 at the Supervisor of Elections Operations Center. And this is to audit whichever race and precinct is chosen at random at tomorrow's canvassing board meeting. And a quorum must be present for that one as well. Both of these meetings were properly noticed as required. And lastly, as I previously mentioned, there will be a runoff election on Tuesday, December 2nd for seat 4. And that's all I have.
All right. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.